Filipinos are a family-based society, which is to say that we love to take our brood wherever it is that we're going. Drive-through fast food, the grocery, fancy rest, boy, we love to eat. It also holds true when it comes to long road trips. That said, it's a reason why MPVs, SUVs, and crossovers are so popular in the country because, well, they tick all the right boxes. Now, while SUVs tend to be priced towards the higher end of the spectrum, crossovers and MPVs live on the relatively cheaper end. And because of that, they have become even more prominent thanks to more affordable price tags. Now, this holds true especially for models within the 1 to 1.5 million Philippine peso price range, which is just really become the sweet spot of the segment. But one automaker seeks to sort of reverse this. This is the 2022 Kaicene CX70. Now, it's a 7-seater SUV with a turbo engine that seeks to redefine what you can actually get for your money's worth. Do you need help purchasing your car insurance? Head on over to AutoDeal.com.ph/car-insurance. Here, you can compare prices and customize your insurance coverage from many of the Philippines' top providers. When you've selected the insurance that's best for you, simply fill out the application and complete the transaction with ease through Visa, MasterCard, GCash, GrabPay, or PayPal, and receive your policy within the next business day. Get the best deal on insurance with AutoDeal. The Kaicene CX70 is in a rather odd position in the automotive market, and I'll tell you why. It's advertised as a 7-seater SUV, but it goes against the norm as it doesn't have a turbo diesel under the hood. It instead comes with a 1.5-liter turbocharged gasoline engine. It produces 148 horses and 265 Nm of torque, which is sent to the rear via a 6-speed automatic transmission. This then puts it in contention with the MPV segment thanks to its price. And speaking of price, you may expect the CX70 to be about the 1 million Philippine peso mark, and you'd be right and wrong at the same time, because what Kaicene has done is priced it underneath that. Yes, you heard me right. The CX70 comes in at 879,000 Philippine pesos, which makes it the most affordable SUV or MPV available in our market today. Anyway, moving on to the looks of the vehicle, familiar naming conventions aside, the CX70 comes with a subtle front look. Now, while we do see that there are similarities in design with existing vehicles, such as perhaps a British SUV and an American crossover, it's what they're trying to work with. Up front, you have and I've said this many times before, a massive grille, which seems to be obviously the trend nowadays, and it's flanked by 2 headlamps. Of course, where else would the headlamps be? Must be said, though, that these are not LEDs. These are halogen headlamps and halogen fog lamps. There are LEDs, they just come in the form of DRLs. I wish they were LEDs, but these halogens actually do have a pretty good throw at night, so no issues there. And then, of course, there's the beam me up, Scotty. Now, the side profile of the CX70 is, well, actually, it's a pretty standard SUV. You get black plastic cladding all around, repeaters on the side mirrors, and roof rails. As far as design is concerned, you do get a nice belt line that tapers off the fenders, and then a nice accent line found below to help give it more, depth to the vehicle. Oh, and check this out. Look at the size of these doors, man. Look at that. They're like wings on an albatross. Caca! That's really what they sound like. Now, at the rear is yet another familiar design for its LED tail lights. You've got your repeaters up on top, your park and your brake lights are in the center, and really that's about it. And then there's also the reverse lamp found down here, and there's only one because on the other side, it's actually a rear fog lamp. Pretty cool. When you open her up, you are looking at 180 liters of space. Truly not much, but it obviously increases exponentially when you fold the second row. This is possible. However, I gotta tell you that if you want to increase the space by much more, you'd have to put the third row back down flat like this, and then you'd have to fold the second row flat. But the second row doesn't actually exactly fold flat. So really, to be honest with you, for the best cargo experience for the CX70, this would be it. This configuration actually would be the end all and be all when it comes to configurations for this particular automobile anyway. Let us see how comfortable those third row seats are. Now let's get, oh, I forgot to unfold it. This is going to be a problem. Oh, that really shouldn't be a problem. It's quite easy. It's just quite warm. I'm gonna get lost in here. Hi, hey, that's pretty easy, man. Hey, these are so light. Okay, so good news first, which is the fact that the leg room back here can actually increase exponentially thanks to the fact that the second row can slide forward. However, as that slide forwards, it diminishes the amount of space that the second row has. Okay, so that's the good news. The bad news is that there are barely any toys back here. There are cup holders on either side, and if you reach back, there is a 12-volt socket for the third row to use. Unfortunately, there are no air vents back here. Your only air back here comes from the two up there on the second row. And I gotta be honest with you, in the middle of summer, that's not so good. Now in the second row, as I mentioned, it does move forward and back, so it can give you control of the amount of space and legroom that you may have. There are toys back here. Not a lot, really. You get a USB charging point found way down at the bottom. And then right in front of you are the air vents, then bottle holders on either door, and then a center armrest. Unfortunately, no cup holders. You do have bottle holders on either door. The thing that I wanted to get at is that the chairs back here, the seats rather, and not just for the second row, but all around, it's actually quite firm, close to a point of actually being stiff, really. And the thing is that it reminds you of being on an airplane. It really does. The odd thing is that while people might find that bad, there is a good side to it because it does really feel like an airplane in here because the amount of headroom that you have. Dude, there could be like overhead storage bins above me. Look at this. It's really a lot of space. Now in the driver's seat of the CX70, it's pretty much a standard affair, to be honest with you. You get a decently designed dashboard with a lot of, more durable plastics. An analog gauge cluster with a small display for your range and trip meter, which doesn't have a display for your fuel economy, by the way, I gotta say that. And a massive 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system. Now the fit and finish are generally great where it counts, but some of the plastics do creak a bit when you use the car. Now this is, after all, a budget-oriented vehicle, so we can forego some of these minor quirks. The 8-inch touchscreen infotainment screen is actually quite responsive. It's nice, but it must be said that it doesn't have Apple or Android capabilities. But for anything else that you may need it to do, it does have Bluetooth capabilities. You also get a blind spot camera for the front that you manually have to activate. It's a nice feature to have, but it's like Kaicene completed their homework but forgot to write their name on it. The feature is there, the execution just needs a little bit of work. Again, it's a budget-oriented car, so we will give them a pass for this one. Now, aside from that, you do get some interesting climate controls, which I'm going to turn on right now because it's quite warm, that have a beeping sound. It's sort of like when you're trying to control the air conditioning unit, like a Carrier or whatnot. And then there's also the beeping of the no seatbelt thing. But see, I've got my seatbelt on and yet it's still beeping because the doors are open, which is a great safety feature because if any door is open, that beeping just won't stop. There is, I found, one little drawback to the air conditioning system. Is that you need to, every once in a while, turn the air conditioning button on. I've found that it turns it off sometimes, and I don't know why. It leaves itself on when I kill the engine with the air conditioning running, but when I turn the air conditioner off, the AC switch goes off. I don't know, that may be just a quirk, or maybe because it's just really warm and I want it to be as cold as possible. Oh my, it's a hot day, isn't it? It's quite a hot day. Let's go for a drive, shall we? But before that, do hit the like and subscribe buttons on our YouTube channel because we love creating videos, guess what? Just for you. The engine and transmission actually respond very well to the throttle pedal in the sense that it's very quick, it's very abrupt, it's very direct. It's quite actually fun to drive. You don't expect it from a 1.5 liter gasoline engine, but yet it's here. The turbo kicks in at a relatively low rev, at about maybe 1,500, 1,800 at most. There's a certain surge that you get to it, which is great when you're on the open road, but in traffic, it may kinda take some time to get used to. But it's not like you're gonna be riding the brakes the entire time. No, not at all. Then there's also something to be said about fuel efficiency. I'd love to be able to tell you on the spot what it is that we're doing when it comes to fuel efficiency, but unfortunately there is no meter. So by our estimates with what the fuel capacity is and what fuel that we load into the automobile, we're doing roughly about 6 kilometers per liter when it's heavy traffic, so not so great. But when that clears up, it does a little bit better with 8 kilometers per liter. Now that is more open road kind of a thing. And then on the highway, our estimates again bring us to about 12 kilometers per liter. There's also always the question of, it's a 1.5 liter gasoline engine, so will it actually make it up to places like, let's say, Baguio, right? Okay, I'll tell you this much. With other cars that are of the same displacement, and the transmission is, whether it's a 4-speed automatic or perhaps even a CVT, there is somewhat of a feeling that the car struggles every once in a while, and you need to gain some more speed to feel like it's going to make it up the mountain of like the city of Baguio. But in this automobile, because of the turbo and because it's just your conventional automatic, it feels as if that the power is there whenever it is that you want. So again, to answer the question, will it actually, is that a fire truck? Oh, I hope everybody's safe. To answer the question, will everybody or will your passengers and the automobile make it safely to like a destination like Baguio? I've never been in this car, but from the city, it feels like it's got the confidence to make it up the mountain. It does. It really does. One of the better ways to test NVH would be when you're actually crawling on EDSA because, well, you spend most of your time in it anyway, and then there's enough bumps on this road to test it out. What I've found is that there's good and bad to it, but let's look at it sort of like the glass is half full, not half empty. There is somewhat of an echoing sound when you go over bumps and potholes, which it does go over pretty well. It does a decent job of shielding you from it. But the echo is apparent inside the automobile. Now that's just at low speed. Now, what I'm saying is that there's a good side to that because it just means that that echo happens because of all the space that you have available inside the automobile. It's got to count for something. There is one particular aspect, though, that the car may need a little bit of help with, which is the cooling of the cabin. Since there is so much space and there are windows that are so massive, the amount of light that comes in is great. It's really, really great. In fact, there's even a sunroof to boot. How do you like them apples? But because of the amount of light and heat that comes in, and there's only vents for the second row and none for the third, I suggest any potential buyers of the CX70, I say tint. Definitely tint. Look, nobody is trying to shove the CX70 down anybody's throat. What it is it's an affordable SUV, 7-seater, that won't put a divot in your wallet, that carries a gasoline instead of a diesel engine. Now, it's not like the manufacturers out there, the much larger manufacturers, are gonna stop in their tracks like a deer at headlights and be scared of this car. No, not at all. But I would like to think that they just might, well, maybe every once in a while look over their shoulder.